We've had the hardworking bees and moments of zen, but now it's time for the fairies to visit and spread even more magic and grow a garden. The fairy event is an hourly event, which will see you submit glimmering crops to the wishing well. In return, you'll receive fairy points that you can use for upgrades from the Fairy Godmother. To help you maximise your fairy points and understand just how the upgrades and rewards work, we've put together this video, so let's dive into it. Every hour at the start of the hour, the fairy event will begin. This is a weather event, where the sky becomes purple and glittering sparkles will fill the air. It lasts for around 10 minutes, at least when you first participate in the event, and you'll see fairies flying from the centre of the island into your garden. They will then transform random crops, applying the Glimmering mutation to them. As you can probably guess, any crops that have the Glimmering mutation will be bright pink and shimmer. Once you have the Glimmering crops, there are two ways that you can use them. Both require you to submit them to the wishing well. You'll find this in the centre of the map, just opposite the Fairy Godmother. The wishing well will ask you to hand over specific crops. These are called fairy favours, and if you can meet the wishing well's requirements, you'll be instantly rewarded with a wish and fairy points. By earning a wish, you'll be able to choose one reward from a choice of 3. These actually come from a potential pool of rewards that are divided into tiers, but more on that in just a moment. One trick we've been using to complete these fairy favours quicker is to craft the mutation spray glimmering item. You can do this at the cosmetics/crafting store, but you can only use the item once. To craft the mutation spray glimmering, you'll need 1 cleaning spray, 1 orange tulip seed, 1 daffodil seed, 1 mango, and 1,000,000 shekels. Once you have it, just apply it to the crop that the wishing well is asking you to submit. Additionally, you can submit any of your glimmering crops directly to the wishing well. When they don't match the crop request, they will instead contribute to your fountain power and give you fairy points depending on their rarity. If you're able to fill the fountain power meter, this will count the same as completing a specific request and also grant you a wish. Now the wishing well, fountain power and rewards both begin at tier 1, and each time you complete the fountain power or submit the required crops, you'll increase your wishing well tier. This changes the reward pool that you'll be able to choose from, as well as the chances of the reward appearing. It also increases the amount of fountain power you need to provide on the next turn. For the rewards, you'll need to get to tier 2 before you even have a chance at getting the enchanted egg, but even then it's only a small chance at 7.69%. If you reach tier 5, however, not only does the number of eggs you'll get as a reward increase to 3, but you'll also have a 29.41% chance of getting that egg. You'll only get 5 wishes a day before you need to wait for the fairy favours to reset. You can speed up that process, however, if you're willing to spend 7,500 fairy points or Robux. The quickest way we've found to get fairy points is just submit all of your glimmering crops to the wishing well. Then, when you get a choice of rewards, choose fairy points. And just keep doing this until you've significantly upgraded the fairies at the Fairy Godmother. As I mentioned, and has become the norm now for all Grow a Garden events, the rarity of the crops you submit to the wishing well will determine the fairy points you receive and the fountain power you gain. If your crops are not the current request from the wishing well, then you'll be rewarded with the following points for submitting them before the multiplier upgrade applies. Fairies can also be randomly found around the map. When the fairy event begins, multiple will spawn outside of the gardens. If you interact with these fairies, then you'll be given additional fairy points. When the event isn't running, you'll see a pop-up that says a fairy appeared somewhere. And if you interact with those fairies, they will visit your garden and mutate a crop to glimmering. Now for the upgrades. There are 4 areas where you can spend fairy points and upgrade your fairies at the Fairy Godmother. To do this, you'll need to choose Show Me the Upgrades when you speak to the Fairy Godmother. You'll then be able to enhance the Glimmer Multiplier, Roaming Fairy Spawn Amount, Fairy Event Duration, and Fairy Spawn Amount. The Glimmer Multiplier refers to the amount of fairy points you get when you contribute to the wishing well, as well as the amount of points you contribute to your fountain power. The Roaming Fairy Spawn Amount increases the number of fairies that you can interact with as the hourly event begins. The fairy event duration, of course, extends the length of the hourly event, giving you much more time to get the Glimmering mutation. And finally, the fairy spawn amount increases the number of fairies spawned that will visit your garden during the hourly event. And that's all there is to know about the fairy event. If you want to see a full list of the rewards that you can get at each tier of the wishing well, visit our Grow a Garden wiki guide. We update it weekly to bring you all the latest events, mutations, new pets, and more.